Well, welcome back to Autodrom Most, everybody. For the final time this weekend, we see the cars already lining up on the grid for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. It is the EuroNASCAR Pro Division, round 6 of the 2021 championship that is up next. This fantastic circuit. Most was the first permanent motor racing facility in Czechoslovakia, as it was at the time, nowadays, of course, known as either the Czech Republic or Czechia, when it opened in 1983. But history of racing in this local area goes back many decades before that. The first motor race in the area was really when motorcycle races were organised around a brewery on the very edge of the city in 1947. And over the years, multiple circuit variations were tried in and around the town before finally an event settled on a course on a highway near to the town's new railway station in the early 1970s. It was quite apparent, though, with circuit safety standards rising all of the time, it wouldn't really allow street racing to continue beyond a few years. So this circuit had construction begin in 1978. It's on the site of the old Verbrinitsky mine, which is one of a number of former industrial plots that filled the landscape on this western side of the city. And over the next 4 years, upsprung Autodrom Most first held its first ever motor race in 1983. The rest, they say, is history. The fans have flocked. We are limited still to the numbers that we're allowed into the venue, but that has not stopped pretty much a sellout crowd with the restricted numbers that we are allowed over the course of this weekend. So it's great to be back here for the second ever trip. We can show you what the circuit looks like. We mentioned a little bit about its history, but if you've not tuned in as yet so far this weekend, let's just talk you round through the circuit. It's quite a long circuit. It is 2.6 miles or 4.2 kilometers long. A big long straight that leads you up to a very tight right and left flick at a chicane, which was built for 2004 season onwards, that adaptation to the first few corners. But as you can see, some flowing sections to the circuit, which means that if you go offline at one part, it puts you further offline at the next and the next and the next. So the consequence can be quite significant. Difficult to overtake. There are plenty of corners, 17 major corners around the track. And as we say, turns 4, 5 and 6 all flow from one to the other. Turns 12, 13, 14, 15 all flow from one to the other as well. But it is a great circuit that we are back at for our second ever visit of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. That tells you a little bit about the circuit. In terms of the weekend format, well, if you're tuning in now for the first time, you've missed both the challenge that was going on, the club challenge on Friday, and the practice sessions. But it's the same format every weekend. So the format we have here is the same format that we always use. Qualifying takes place Saturday morning. We have a race for each of the divisions on the Saturday. They have a warm-up session this morning. And again, each of the divisions will have a race today. And for the EuroNASCAR Pros, it will be held over 17 laps, which equates to 75 kilometers around this course. Now, they had a race yesterday coming into this weekend. We had in the lead of the championship, Loris Hazemans. He put in pole position for yesterday, but the race was very difficult yesterday. Loris Hazemans still has the championship lead, 14 points now ahead of Gianmarco Ercoli, who remains second in the championship, and Nicola Rocca maintains third. Vittorio Garelli is fourth, but Alan Day now moves up to fifth position. He started this weekend in ninth, but the reigning champion is now up into fifth place. Ercoli leads the junior standings. The Challenger Trophy, which is for amateur drivers that race in EuroNASCAR Pro, is being led by Yevgen Sokolovsky and Henry Tuamala, who are jointly in 12th place in the overall championship, and both on 109 points. So it's all very much to play for over the course of this weekend. So one final race to come up. Now, let's have a look back at some of the highlights of an intriguing race yesterday in what were dry conditions to start with. The race turned very wet towards the end. Let's have a look back at yesterday's race. So an intriguing race yesterday. Alan Day going to victory lane for the 26th time in his career, but he did say it was the way the pit stop was done by the team, changing him from dry tyres to wet tyres, that was key to that. We saw also the car of Romain Iniesta leading the race. The decision was made by Marco Stick to leave him out. They gambled, we're either going to win this or we're going to fall off the circuit. And as it was, they went the wrong way. They fell off the circuit, lost the lead of the race. Let's go downstairs and onto the grid with Andre.
We're here with the pole sitter, Vittorio Ghirelli from Italy. Ciao Vittorio. We have a long straight ahead of us. You're going to be the one dictating the pace when it's going into the first turn. What's going through your head when you dive down there with all those guys behind your back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite relaxed. Go for the win. Important is to do a good start. Then it won't be easy because there are a lot of good guys behind me, but yesterday, yeah, it was a fun race, tricky. I got pushed out when I was battling for P1, but hope to turn it around today. Anyway, it will be a long race, so yeah, stay focused and go for it.
All right, grazie mille. Have a good night.
That is the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Vittorio Ghirelli. It was such an intriguing race yesterday. I say Romain Iniesta, that Marco Stick made the decision, we either win or we lose this race. Gambled and stayed out on the slick tyres on a wet track, went off the road. Loris Hasemans had a poor finish yesterday. He missed his pit stall, and the team was a bit slow during his pit stop as well. There's no mandatory pit stops. It was purely down to the conditions yesterday that everybody that started on slicks had to pick for wet, as you can see in the highlights. We can see in the background of the shot there, Loris Hasemans busy chatting away the championship leader. So we'll see as to what happens with this one very, very shortly. I'm sure Andre will catch up with some more drivers on the grid, and we'll see as to whether we are going to see Loris Hasemans go back towards victory lane for what for him would be his 11th time in his career. Whereas it was the 26th win of the season for Alan Day yesterday. Andre is down there on the grid with the 2019 champion.
Hasemans, the 2019 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series champion. You have some guys in front of you, and the first race was a tough race for you. So what is your plan for the second one?
Win it. As simple as that. I mean, we try to win it. We obviously are thinking about the championship too, so we try to make sure that we make the best out of it. Most important thing is to score points. Yeah, yesterday was a very tough race. It was really a shame because I came in as first, and then we really had a bad pit stop. So I left as 16th, so it was really tough. Then fought my way back up to P8. But yeah, we're looking to very much recap on the pole position and try to take the win today.
Martin Dubeck had some problems with the car in his EuroNASCAR 2 race, so the Hendricks crew, did it fix it?
Yeah, so we had actually a rear axle which was broken, so this was really a shame because Martin was doing really well, but this is part of motorsport, so let's see what we can do today. The car's all fixed, it felt good so far in the outlap, so let's see what we can make of today.
All right, thank you very much. Dankjewel, success and tot ziens.
There we go. Always good to have a chat to Loris Hasemans, say the 2019 champion, and has been doing a good chunk of winning with Hendricks Motorsport so far this year. Remember, this is the 6th round of the championship coming up, so we've already had 5 races. Loris has won 3 of them. Yesterday was actually the first time he's failed to finish off the podium with that 8th position, but as he said, it was held his hands up to a degree that it was his mistake, came in and just missed his pit box, and those split seconds just to get him back into his pit position. Before then, just the 2 people allowed to work on the cars was the briefing, was what cost him time. You can see we've got fantastic onboard cameras for the first time this weekend. Onboard the number 77 car, which is Mark Goossens, and on board the car of Luca Lasser in this race. Luca driving the number 64 Speedhouse Ford that we are hoping to see some action from throughout the course of the race. Now, this is a new system that we are trialling for this weekend. Thanks to Sam Tahiri, himself a former NASCAR racer, for introducing this technology to us for this weekend. And let's hope that we can continue with it in the future, because they've certainly provided some great action. It looks as though Andre is down there on the grid, and this time he's catching up with Francesco Sini.
Motorsport Chevrolet Camaro. Francesco, it's a good starting position. So what's your plan today?
The plan is, first of all, to finish the race, because I didn't finish any race this season. I had so many problems, so I want to to have luck this morning, and I would like to fight for the podium because I think my pace is good. Yesterday we were very close, but then the rain was a disaster for my race when I was in P3 with Villeneuve. So today I hope with a good luck and to finish to the podium.
You missed the Brands Hatch round of a very big reason, so you're trying to bring the trophy to your newborn son?
Yeah, I hope so. My wife is at home with my 2 children, so I hope to get back with a trophy for her.
All right, grazie mille and have a good race.
Okay.
Big smile you can see there within the crash helmet of Francesco Sini. He was doing so well in the rain yesterday, the former European Radical champion. Now though, it's time for the national anthems. There we go, the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States of America. And following the national anthem of the United States of America, we should then have the national anthem for our host country for this weekend, the Czech Republic. There we go, the national anthems both of the United States of America and for our host country. Alain Day, the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion and 3 times the champion, the man top of the all-times winners list, just getting himself ready there. The final few pieces of equipment coming out of his bag. It did make me giggle though when the US national anthem was being played, because I spotted on the grid there, still in his race suit, 3 hours after his race, Nave Talor races in EuroNASCAR too, so I'm not sure whether he's going to bring a change of clothes to the circuit, but 3 hours after his race, he's still in his race overalls with his race boots on. Just made me chuckle. A smile from Alain Day as he reads one last little message on his mobile phone and is about to pop in the earpieces, the communication system that relay him back to his spot, and of course race control in contact with all of our drivers. And I think Andre is down there on the grid. We should be able to grab a very quick word with our reigning champion.
We're here with Alain Day. Yesterday you break your curse here at Autodrom with the win. How do you want to make it 2 in a row?
I don't know. I'm starting 5th. All I want is to survive turn 1, and then from there we will see. Hopefully I will talk to you in the end of the race in victory.
All right, thank you so much, man. Good race.
There we go. Alain Day wanted, you could just tell he wanted to keep that short and sweet. He's going to be hugely focused on making sure that he has a good result in this one, because it was a good result for him yesterday. That's exactly what he needed. It moved him from 9th in the championship standings up to 5th in the championship standings, and the reason he's 9th in the championship standings was because he had problems in race 2 at Valencia for round 2 of the championship, and he had problems in race 2 at Brands Hatch for round 4 of the championship. So he has got a couple of poorer scores already. You can only drop your worst score from the regular rounds of the championship. We're looking there at the number 5 car. That is 1997 Formula 1 world champion Jacques Villeneuve, of course former Champ Car champion and Indy 500 winner as well. We saw him just while the national anthems were playing, putting on his balaclava, those familiar piercing blue eyes of Jacques Villeneuve, and the familiar colours of his crash helmet as well. Great to see Jacques back in the championship for this round. He hasn't done every round this year because of his other commitments that he has, including his television commentary commitments, but for the 50-year-old, scary isn't it now, 50-year-old French-Canadian Jacques Villeneuve, good to see him back in here. Of course, a driver who has raced Nationwide and Sprint Cup and NASCAR on the other side of the Atlantic as well. He's taken in some Formula E races in the past, did a bit of World Rally Championship stuff as well, so there's a raft of things that he's done. Yeah, we associate him with Formula 1 and Champ Car and IndyCar, but yeah, World Rally Championship, Formula E, but to name a few as well. There's a last little handshake going on for Alain Day, say the most winningest driver, top of the all-time winners list in the NASCAR Pro Division, the driver from Ashdod in Israel, who claimed his first NASCAR win in September of 2015 and his last one just yesterday. This is one of our onboard camera cars for this weekend, Luca Lasser. Luca, a 2 times former champion, won this championship back in 2009 and 2010. We're getting some great onboard views from those cameras, and in this race, hopefully from that angle, particularly as we're looking at the driver, we'll be able to see exactly how hard the 42-year-old Frenchman is going to be working behind the wheel of his car to try and wrestle it around this 2.624 mile or 4.2 kilometre track in what are still cloudy skies. We've had those cloudy skies all weekend. This car, I've been really impressed with the pace of Sebastian Bleekemolen this weekend. A quick wave from the hugely likeable, always smiling Dutchman. And he has had some really strong performances this weekend. He qualified 3rd for the race yesterday. He's on the front row of the grid for the race today. The race didn't quite go his way yesterday. He ultimately finished in 10th position in the tricky conditions, but I'm sure with his father watching on from at home, Dad would usually, Michael, be out racing in EuroNASCAR too, but a back injury has prevented him from racing this weekend. He's been at home supporting the grandchildren with their karting exploits. And there's another driver, another EuroNASCAR 2 driver that's forgotten to bring a change of clothes to the circuit. That's Alberto Panebianco, I think I can see there, with his hat on to the left of your screen, chatting away to... Is that Vladimiris Choitsis? It looks like it, with the mask on. Difficult to see. It certainly looks like Vladimiris Choitsis, who went onto the podium in the race earlier on today, the Cypriot driver, and needed that after a poor result in yesterday's race. So it's nice to see, as ever, that the EuroNASCAR 2 drivers, who share these cars, of course, with the EuroNASCAR pros, do hang around and they support each other, good times and bad times. About 5 minutes away from the most famous word in NASCAR. The grid is still busy. All of the VIPs now starting to leave the grid.
Samozřejmě se těším velmi, moc si to tady dneska užívám, doufám, že závodníci, ale především i publikum se také velmi užívá. Jsem moc rád, že počasí se dneska vydařilo, to perfektní.
Commentators on the build-up round 6 of the championship.
A dneska to zatím krásně vychází, tak snad to vydrží.
Jinak teď nás čekají na skály s Jacquem Villeneuve, poté si můžeme další atak Adama Lacka na Podium,
busy weekend
takže
at
to je
Most
paráda, co k tomu říct.
OMV, who are the main sponsors of this race meeting at the circuit. That is the OMV Max Motion NASCAR show, and representative from OMV just indicating the support that they are giving for this weekend for the NASCAR and the supporting packages that we've got here as well. The European Truck Racing Championship are here supporting this weekend, or co-headlining. We've also had Max Formula as well, which caters for some very quick single-seater cars, whether they be Indy cars or World Series by Renault or World Series by Nissan cars. Fabulous sound around the track. Not quite as nice as the 5.7-litre V8 that are going to be unleashed very shortly around the track with the European NASCAR Championship. So we're about 4 minutes away from hearing those words. The remaining few grid members starting to thin out, which very shortly, as the countdown continues, will leave us just with one or at the maximum two, I think, mechanics allowed on the grid. With the slave battery, just should the car not fire, they can quickly plug in the slave battery and get it fired up. But most of the grid now has largely been cleared. Here is the onboard cameras again that we're looking at. This is out of the roof, really, of what Mark Goosen's seat on board the number 77 DF1 Racing Chevrolet. And there's Luca Lasserre. We look across at Luca just sitting patiently behind the wheel. The 77 will start on the 9th row of the grid. Luca Lasserre will start further up on what's up the 5th row of the grid. This is what he will be seeing out of his windscreen. And you can see that whilst it's been cloudy all weekend, there is a bit of blue sky now around, which is nice to see, which hopefully means that unlike yesterday, where the weather really turned quite early on into the EuroNASCAR Pro race, at least I think we're going to have stable weather conditions for this 17-lap race that is coming up very, very shortly indeed. So 2.5 minutes to go until our Grand Marshal, which is Lubas Nikol, who is a guest of FD Service Whelen, will present those famous words, and that will be hopefully the final time this weekend that we'll see the cars needing to head off on a green flag lap. Let's hope that we go clean all the way in this one. And that, as Alan Day was suggesting, just wants to get through the first corner. It is a real overtaking opportunity heading up towards turn 1 and turn 2, because it's from such a high speed to such a heavy braking area as you turn in towards the right and the left-hander. But as a consequence, it does cause a few incidents and the concertina effect. There's the 54 car. That is Gianmarco Ercoli, lies second in the championship standings, is the leading junior driver that we have on the grid as well. And the junior category is for drivers aged 25 and under at the beginning of the season. We have the challenger category as well, which for amateur drivers that race in EuroNASCAR Pro, i.e. they are silver or bronze graded. And now we're just left with one final team member per car there on the grid. You can see the slave battery plugged in just behind the A post on the car is where the slave battery plugs in. As we chat to the station commentary, our Grand Marshal Lubas Nikol, who's giving those most famous words in NASCAR in just a few moments' time. On the run-up to the 6th round of the championship, the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series 2021 championship. The NASCAR Whelen Pro Division will be heading out onto circuit. The Ford Mustang race car is ready to go.
Drivers, start your engine.
There we go. So the instruction is given by our Grand Marshal. Engines are fired into life. But what is front on, I would think. Now, yeah, final thank you and look for the team member. The Whelen lights are illuminated on the top of the Ford Mustang pace car. And for the final time this weekend, we are about to go NASCAR racing here in Europe with the NASCAR Grand Prix of the Czech Republic, our second ever race meeting in the Czech Republic. We first visited it in 2019. We did not return last year in what was a substantively changed calendar because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but we are back here. And so far, of the 3 EuroNASCAR Pro races we have had in 2019 and yesterday's, we have had 3 different winners, and all of those 3 former winners are on this grid. Nicola Rocca is driving the number 22 car. He won the first ever NASCAR race back here on the 29th of June in 2019. Loris Hazemans, who leads the championship, lines up 3rd on the grid. He won the 2nd ever NASCAR race here. And also Alan Day, of course, who won yesterday's races on the grid. Let's guide you through the grid then as they head off on their final formation lap. This is the way that the grid lines up. On pole position, that is where we see the number 50 car of Vittorio Girelli sits there on pole position. And alongside, it should be car number 69, Sebastian Bleekemolen. Hoping we're going to get some graphics coming up to show us this grid in a few moments' time. So Vittorio Girelli and Sebastian Bleekemolen sitting there on the front row of the grid. Row number 2 of the grid, still awaiting the graphic to not come up, is, here we go. So there's Vittorio Girelli and Sebastian Bleekemolen on the front row of the grid. Row 2 of the grid sees Loris Hazemans line up, and alongside Loris Hazemans is Romain Iniesta. The third row of the grid, in fifth position on the grid, that is where we see the Nebrasier car of Alan Day, and sixth is Francesco Cini, who we heard from. Seventh on the grid, lining up on the seventh position, is Andrea Norrie, who had a good run yesterday before he had problems, as did Jacques Villeneuve, who led for a short period of time until he had to pit for wets. Ninth is double former champion, our onboard camera car, Luca Lasser, who's got former EuroNASCAR 2 driver Giorgio Maggi alongside him. And 11th on the grid, it is Gianmarco Ercoli, and 3 times a runner-up in the series, the Frenchman Fred Gabillon. 13th is where we see former EuroNASCAR 2 champion Ulysse Delso alongside Dario Carzo, who returns for this weekend. And 15th on the grid is where we see a full Scandinavian 6th row of the grid. Henry Tuomala lines up alongside his countryman Ian-Eric Varden. They'll both be fighting in the Challenger Trophy. Nicola Rocca is 17th, former race winner here. Alongside him is Mark Goosens, who was on the podium yesterday in the race. Yevgen Sokolovsky, the Ukrainian, lines up alongside Bernardo Manfred in 19th and 20th positions. And in 21st place, that is where we see Michaela Dorsikova returning the Slovakian to the championship alongside Federico Monti. And the final row of the grid is Patrick Lamery and Davide Dallara, who lines up at the very tail end of the field. So that is the way that they line up for this final race of the weekend, round 6 of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, being headed around by the number 50 car of Vittorio Garelli, the 27-year-old from Italy, the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion from 2020. He finished third in EuroNASCAR 2 in 2019, so it's his first season at the top flight. There's the re-liveried car for this weekend as well. Very patriotically liveried car for Giorgio Maggi, the former EuroNASCAR 2 runner-up. So it's good to see Giorgio out there. Giorgio had a good run yesterday as well, I've got to say. He finished 7th in the end. He was second of the junior drivers home, i.e. for those aged 25 and under at the beginning of the season. But we'll be hoping that we can usher him a little bit further up through the order, Giorgio Maggi. He's had the best result of 4th so far this year. So they're being asked to get themselves into neat 2x2 order now for the start. So lights are off on the safety car, and should feel its way in towards the pit lane on the exit of the penultimate corner. And then the drivers will remain in their 2x2 formation. They should stay in that formation until they get over the start-finish line. You can't break from the line. You can accelerate, but you can't break from the line until you've got over the start-finish line. So just because the lights go out, you can't jink out of position. You have to stay in that line until you've crossed the start line, and then you can start to try and progress your way through the order. And I think there was one driver yesterday that I think jinked out a little bit early, but wasn't given a penalty in the end. It did stay. So here we go. Buckle up for the final time this weekend. We're about to go green at Autodrom Most. Round 6 of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division is about to get going. Vittorio Garelli and Sebastian Bleekie-Molen on the front row of the grid. The lights go out and they charge their way up towards turn number 1. The tight right-hander, followed by the left-hander at turn 2 chicane here at Autodrom Most. And who's going to come out in the lead? It is, by the look of things, we've got cars being launched up into the air. Romain Iniesta has got tangled up with some other car in the gravel trap, but I think it will be Vittorio Garelli that will lead the way. I'm not quite sure how many cars, there are at least 3 or 4. Francesco Cini has got tangled in it as well. The Solaris Motorsport car creeping its way back through. Couldn't quite pick out, other than Romain Iniesta, who else got tangled up in that one. It is Vittorio Garelli that leads the race. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen is second, and Loris Hazemans is third at the moment. Romain Iniesta started in 4th place. His was certainly one of the cars that I think got punted in the rear. Off has gone Ian-Eric Varden, and I can't see who the other car was. We'll have to pick up on that, but the 2 cars in the gravel, we might not be able to cover that under localised yellows. We'll have to wait and see. Race continues for the meantime. The Italian leads. It's a Dutchman that sits there in 2nd and in 3rd place at the moment, the 2 drivers from the Netherlands. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen in the 69 car, followed by the Hendricks Ford Mustang in the hands of our 2019 champion. There's Ian-Eric Varden out of the car. We'll still continue. You can see what it's done to the field as well. The top 3 got away, and where the incident happened, there's been a big gap between the top 3 and the 4th place car at this stage, which looks as though it's Alan Day, is it, that's there in 4th place? It may well be Alan Day that's there in 4th place, but we are going safety car by the look of things, so we are going full course caution. Romain Iniesta, who got, I think, tagged in the rear, is still circulating in 6th place. Let's just have a quick look. Right, yeah, leaping up into the air. I think that might have been Francesco Cini and Jacques Villeneuve, maybe, that got tangled up with Romain Iniesta. We'll have to wait and see. Everybody else safely made it through. Just go see these sort of shortcuts across the grass to rejoin the track. But yes, certainly Jacques Villeneuve got tangled up in that one, because he has tumbled like a stone down through the order and is down there in 13th position. So he did get tangled up. So I think it was Andrea Nori. I think Patrick Lamery has not come through, and I haven't seen Mark Goossens come through yet either. So those are certainly 3 cars that have got tangled up. We know of the whereabouts of Ian Eric Varden. There's a car off to our left-hand side as well. Can't quite just see who that is. Is it our car of Luca Lasserre? No, he's 5th. So just trying to look at the colour of it. It's very difficult to say. I think that might be Andrea Nori's car. No, it's number 17, I'm afraid. So it's Bernardo Manfredi that's off, just towards the left-hand side. So Bernardo out of the car and absolutely fine. The car looking slightly battered at the front. Lots of wheel marks down the side of it as well. So that is an early bath, as they say, for the 56-year-old Italian, who took him a couple of rounds of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series last year. Into the pit lane with puncture has come Mark Goossens, so that's why I didn't see that car continuing to circulate. And also Patrick Lamery, I think I saw in the pit lane as well. So the DF1 pit crew having to go to work so as to replace the punctured tyre on Mark Goossens. Off comes the old one, on gets bolted a new one. And if they could service this quickly, it could keep him on the lead lap, and that could be hugely important potentially for a man who finished on the podium yesterday, 3rd overall for Mark Goossens, his best result of the season. Now, the safety car is still down towards the middle section of the circuit, so I think it's heading up towards turn number 15 at the moment, so they need to get Mark Goossens down the track as soon as possible and keep their fingers crossed that the green lights are still on at pit lane exit. So let's just guide you through the order then. Vittorio Girelli leads under safety car here at Autodrom Most. Sebastian Bleekemolen 2nd. Loris Hazemans is 3rd. Alan Day, Luca Lasserre and Romain Iniesta complete the top 6. Giorgio Maggi's there in 7th place with Gianmarco Ercoli in 8th. Fred Gabion 9th and Ulysse Delso is 10th. And it's Henry Turmala just outside of the top 10 in 11th place from Nicola Rocca, and the delayed car of Jacques Villeneuve now in 13th position. Dario Carzo is 14th. Davide Dallara has made good progress and stayed out of trouble from the back of the grid to be 15th at the moment, so he's had a really good run. 16th place is Michaela Dorsikova. 17th place, also delayed, was Francisco Cini, but doesn't look as though there's any obvious damage to the Solaris Motorsport number 12, as he sits there in 17th place. Yevgen Sokolovsky is 18th. And we know that Patrick Lamery in 19th and Mark Goossens in 20th both dived to the pit lane for the cars to be serviced. I think Mark Goossens has now made it back out again, but I believe Patrick Lamery is still showing as being in the pit lane at the moment. We also know that we lost Andrea Nori somewhere on that particular lap. I think that is on the approach in towards the braking area for the chicane. He has gone, and we also know that Bernardo Manfredi at the wheel of the 42 Racing Shadow also got taffled up as well. So there's a few cars that we have lost early doors in this one, I'm afraid. For what has been a fairly safety car free weekend, or there is a bit of damage to the front end of the Solaris Motorsport number 12 car. I thought Francisco Cini had got away with the moment, but as not going to be the case. So the delay at the moment is just while we clear up the track. There also needs to be reordering as well, so they need to get themselves back into their original order. So for Davide Dallara, circulating 15th at the moment, he may have to drop back to his original grid position, which would have been 24th. So that, if that's the case, would be enormously frustrating for him, but them's the rules, as they say. As we go on board, looking at Luca Lasserre, who is 5th on the road at the moment, and did pick up places, started 9th. Mark Goossens' car is the other onboard camera car that we have, but that one appears to be frozen for the moment. There's Yevgen Sokolovsky. Busy chap is Yevgen. Races in both EuroNASCAR 2 and in EuroNASCAR Pro, so he does all 4 races over the weekend. And now we're starting to get the reordering, I think. So Francisco Cini is making his way back up through the pack again. I think we'll start to move his way up through the order, and Ulysse Delso sits ahead of him on the track. Is he going to get past it? Has he been informed by race control so as to work his way through the pack as yet? Can't quite see. Here's Alberto Panabianco. Is he looking at his phone at the moment, now that we are under full course caution? Yeah, there's Jacques Villeneuve. Now, this is good news for Jacques Villeneuve, of course, as well, that full course caution came out, because Jacques, again, I think with a fairly undamaged car, can make his way back up through the order as we go back to the original starting positions. Davide De Lara has dropped to the tail end of the field, which is correct. So I think we are midway through getting the reorder sorted. So there could be possibly one more lap behind the safety car. It depends how much reordering we've got to do still. Race control will be checking the lineup continually. There is Michaela Dorsikova. Great to see Michaela back in the championship. She took in a couple of races at Hockenheim in 2019. Nice to see her out again in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. It'd be good to see a bit more of Michaela, because she has been always somebody, when I've had a chat to her, has been very, very welcome. He's delighted to be here. She just keeps pinching herself that she's even on the grid for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Works hard to get the budget together that she can. It would just be good to see a little bit more of her, because she's a very, very accomplished driver. So we look at the onboard of Mark Goosens. We're looking at the tail end of Michaela Dorsikova's Academy Motorsport, Alex Caffey Motorsport. It's a joint setup between the two of them at Ford Mustang. And we're going to have one further lap behind the safety car before, hopefully, the thumbs up is given that the lineup is okay. That being the case, then let's have a quick look through the order in which they are circulating. Yeah, I think we're there almost, aren't we? So Giorgio Maggi, Gilmark Workley, Fred Gabillon, Ulysse Delso, Dario Carzo should be the next one, but can't quite see Carzo's number 8 car in shot at the moment. There goes Ulysse Delso. No, there's Dario Carzo, was not there. The next car that I saw there was Henry Tuamala. There was Dario Carzo. He is dropping down through the order at the moment, Dario Carzo. So I wonder if he was also headed towards the pit lane at the end of that lap, because the number 8 car did not come through in the position I would have expected it to. Well, it's there, but it's just, yes, now he's got himself ahead of Henry Tuamala, so they were just in the process of reordering that section of the grid at the moment. So that is now in the correct order further down through the grid. So the number 8 car of Carzo has got himself ahead of Henry Tuamala. And we are already now, 3 laps into this race. There is Dario Carzo. Finished 4th in the Challenger Trophy last year to Dario Carzo. He was 4th actually in 2019. He was runner-up in the Challenger Trophy in 2018 and first cut his teeth in the likes of Ferrari racing, both in the Ferrari Italia Championship and the European Ferrari Championship. Did a bit of Italia GT racing as well, GT Italia as it's called. So safety car in this lap, but we gather it is going to be a single file restart to try and prevent a reoccurrence of the bottlenecking of the cars heading up towards turn 1 and turn number 2. As I say, it's thrown a bit of a lifeline to the likes of Romain Iniesta and Francisco Cini and Jacques Villeneuve, all of whom were compromised with what went on the run-up towards the turn 1 and turn 2 chicane. However, what it has done is put poor old Davide De Lara all the way back down through the order again, having had that fantastic start at the win of the number 89 car, the Italian, who was the Challenger champion in EuroNASCAR Pro last year. Now finds the number 89 Not Only Motorsport Chevy all the way at the tail end of the field. He's got it all to do again. So we are on lap number 4 currently. There is Gianmarco Ercoli, 2nd in the championship standings, but only 10th in this race. Ercoli finished on the podium yesterday. He was 2nd in the race overall. Jacques Villeneuve was having a great race. We saw his number 5 car there until the heavens opened, and how he was sticking out there so long on slick tyres in awful conditions, I would never know. And it nearly caught him out as well. He had one small moment heading around through the penultimate corner, which just allowed him to go on the grass very briefly, but eventually the following lap he had to pit. He had no choice but to pit and go onto the wets, as everybody had already done. But it was a staggering roll of the dice from Jacques Villeneuve, and hats off to him for trying it, and the rest as well. So here we go, pace car peels its way into the pit lane. We're about to get racing back underway here at Autodrom Most, and it will be up to Vittorio Garelli as to when he wants to get his foot down and start to restart the race. He is being almost pushed along by Sebastian Bleekemolen. Single file restart. We get the race back underway. It is Ford from Ford from Ford, from Chevy from Chevy from Chevy, the top 6 at the moment, as they charge their way up towards turn number 1 for what will be the 5th time in reality now, and it doesn't look as though the order is going to change into the braking area. Pirelli still leads from Sebastian Bleekemolen in 2nd place. Loris Hazeman's the 2019 champion there in 3rd place. Romain Iniesta in 4th place, and Alan Day, the reigning champion, coming under pressure from Jacques Villeneuve for 5th and 6th position. So those two having a real sort of elbows out squabble as they went up towards the chicane. but I don't think that Jacques Villeneuve is quite going to make it through. So back as they were again, really. Garelli starting to sprint away. He's not had a win in EuroNASCAR Pro as yet, because remember, he stepped up as the EuroNASCAR 2 champion from last year into the top flight. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen is having a great season so far. He sits there in second position. He was 5th in the championship standings coming into this weekend and had his first 2 ever podiums at Brands Hatch with 2 third places. Well, he could go one better here if he hangs on to it, but he's got his fellow countryman, Loris Hazemans, absolutely behind him. And you could argue teammate as well, because whilst it's a team Bleekie-Molen Ford that's there in second place, there is technical support and assistance from the Hendricks team. So it's sort of also a semi-Hendricks effort for that Ford Mustang. It really has meant that Sebastian Bleekie-Molen has moved forward over the course of this season compared to maybe where he was in the 2019 season, which was the last year he raced with us. Bits of bodywork flapping there. I think that might have been possibly Dario Carzo's car that was shedding a bit of bodywork, or was it Giorgio Maggi? I think it was Maggi, actually. So the top 3 out of the final corner, bouncing over the curves, and a bit of the grass goes Loris Hazemans in his efforts to try and stay onto the coattails of Sebastian Bleekie-Molen. Alan Day's coming under pressure again from Jacques Villeneuve as they squabble over what is 5th and 6th position, with Romain Iniesta in the yellow and green car in the background, not too far away either in 6th place. So there go the lead 3. Here come the next, 5, 6, 7 altogether. Anyone you like, really, that's going to be in 4th at the moment. The battered car of Francisco Cini running side by side with our camera car, which is Luca Lasser, as they head through turn 3 and up towards the sweeping part of the circuit, flat out at turn 4 before they then head into this technical section. Turns 5, 6, 7 and 8 and 9 all then blend into turn 10, which is the hairpin that they're heading up to now. Garelli leads by 0.7 of a second from Sebastian Bleekie-Molen. Loris Hazemans is just a quarter of a second back from that, and then 2.5 seconds off the lead 3 is where we see Alan Day. But look at the queue of cars that's behind him. From Alan Day all the way back to, I would say, perhaps even Dario Carzo, who's 13th position. It's just one great train of NASCARs. Speeds build again as they head through turn 14 and in towards the braking area for turn number 15, where they have to sweep right, sweep left, sweep right again, and then the speeds build as they head out of turn number 17 and up towards this section here, the kinks at turn 18 and turn 19, with Garelli still leading the way at the moment. He's had plenty of wins in EuroNASCAR 2, Vittorio Garelli. He is 4th in the all-time winners list in EuroNASCAR 2 with 6 career wins, but at the moment he could be on course for his first career win in EuroNASCAR Pro, and it usually takes maybe a season or 2 for drivers to claim their first win. But Vittorio Garelli, who is without question a very, very adaptable driver, there's bodywork flying. That's Francisco Cini's car, actually. He was alongside Giorgio Maggi, so that was why I thought it was Maggi's car. That's Cini's car that bodywork has come from. Now, Jacques Villeneuve this time has got himself ahead of Alan Day. That must have been on the run in towards the chicane, because as they came over the start-finish line, Alan Day was just, and I do mean only just ahead, but Villeneuve has now gone through, and Alan Day is slowing out on circuit. This is not what the reigning champion needs. He's already had misfortune strike in race 2 at Valencia and race 2 at Brands Hatch, and now it looks as though race 2 at Most is all going to start to unpick his championship aspirations. The 3-times champion was looking for his 4th championship, and at the moment you can see there is the number 88 Monster Energy Chevy slowing out on circuit. Now, is that a front left puncture maybe? Looks as though the front left was maybe just a little bit down from where it ought to have been. Difficult to tell from that angle, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's a front left puncture for Alan Day, and he'll have to limp that car all the way into the pit lane, I'm afraid to say. And yet again, misfortune will strike the 3-times champion. Number 22 of Nicola Rocca not going particularly well. He's further down the grid than you would expect, in 14th position. There go the leading 3. Order still remains the same. Jacques Villeneuve, though, is he gaining on them? He is... Well, Alan Day was 3.7 seconds behind, but we know his car was failing, so we need to try and keep an eye on the relative pace of Jacques Villeneuve compared to the top trio. Villeneuve comes over the start-finish line. We'll show on the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen that he will now be up into 4th position. He's 4.4 seconds behind the leading trio, which is still being headed by this car here. It's Ford 1, 2, 3 at the moment. And you could argue it's the Hendricks 1, 2, 3 as well, because it's Vittorio Garelli's Hendricks Ford that leads the Team Bleekemolen supported by Hendricks that are second, and it's another Hendricks board that's there in third at the moment. So Roy Hendricks and the team will be keeping their fingers crossed that these three keep squabbling away for a good race, but equally as much don't take each other out, and we could have sort of a clean sweep rather from the Hendricks team on the podium ultimately. Now, Loris Hazeman's through the last corner just sort of dropped away a little bit from the leading pair. So is he now just mindful of what's going on ahead of him? Because both Vittorio Garelli and Sebastian Bleekemolen are 4th and 5th in the championship, but Loris Hazeman is the championship leader, and the cars that are 2nd and 3rd in the championship are behind him, so he's going to outscore them anyway, so he could just settle for 3rd place if he wanted to and still know that his championship is going on. There, I'm afraid, smoke coming from underneath the bonnet of Alan Day's car. That is not good signs for the number 88 Cal Racing Chevy. Looks as though the 2017, 2018 and 2020 champion may well be out of the race, joining the likes of Patrick Lamery and Davide Delar and Federico Monti in the list of retirements for this one. So 8 laps about to be completed. Over the start-finish line, there we'll go. Garelli still leading the way by 0.6 of a second from Sebastian Bleekemolen. 0.6 of a second is not a great deal at all. Any mistake at all from Vittorio Garelli and Sebastian Bleekemolen can pounce. And equally as much if Bleekemolen tries something to take the lead and it doesn't work, then Loris Hazeman is poised and ready to pounce. They are not at the moment holding each other up, so they're not particularly getting caught by the car that's there in 4th place, which is 1997 Formula 1 World Champion Jacques Villeneuve. As for the subcategories, well, the leading junior driver that we have in the field at the moment is in 5th position, which is Giorgio Maggi. He leads the junior trophy. 9th place in the junior trophy, 9th place overall in the race would be the 2nd driver in the junior trophy, Gianmarco Ercoli. And in 11th place, Ulysse Belstow would complete the junior trophy podium. And for the challenger trophy, Henry Tuamala in 12th place is leading that from 15th and 16th place drivers, Dario Carzo and Yevgen Sokolovsky respectively. So it's quite a substantive lead in the challenger trophy for Henry Tuamala. He's got Nicola Rocca and Mark Goosens between himself and the next driver that he's doing battle with for that subcategory. Front puncher, damage, that's what remains of Ian Eric Varden's DF1 Racing number 44 car. 56-year-old Finnish driver out of the race in that first corner incident, which is an enormous shame for him. He's another driver that this weekend has been racing in both EuroNASCAR 2 and EuroNASCAR Pro. That wasn't the case at Brands Hatch because Alexander Graf returned to the championship and raced the car in EuroNASCAR Pro, but Ian's doing both over the course of this weekend again, as I think he did at Valencia at the beginning of the season, Circuit Ricardo Tormo. So we are at the half distance point of this race now. Vittorio Garelli leads by a slightly increased mark. The gap's now almost 0.9 of a second now between himself and Sebastian Bleekemolen, who is still on course for his best result in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. 2nd position would be a solid haul of points for him over the course of the season so far. Yes, disappointment yesterday with 10th place, but either way, I think Sebastian has been one of those drivers that so far has only finished outside of the top 10 on one occasion, and that was the very first race of the season at Circuit Ricardo Tormo, where he finished in what for him was a fairly lowly 19th position, I think it was. He was classified in the end. Other than that, it's been 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 10th, and potentially 2nd in this race. But still work to do, and top 3 looking equidistantly spread. So the gap from Garelli to Bleekemolen looking almost identical as the gap from Bleekemolen back to Hazemans. And Jacques Villeneuve is still not gaining on them. Jacques Villeneuve, when he first took up 4th place following the retirement of Alan Day, was 4.4 seconds adrift. He's now 4.9, so the gap is just edging out all of the time for Jacques Villeneuve in 4th place. But equally, he is not getting caught by Giorgio Maggi, who is still about a second and a half shy. So leading 3 out of turn 20 up towards turn number 21. And this time round, it looks as though it is Sebastian Bleekemolen who's coming under pressure from Loris Hazemans. Is the current championship leader and 2019 champion going to get in the tow of the 2nd place car? Might he be able to sneak his way through on the run up towards the braking area for the chicane? No, still too far away as they head towards turn 1 and instantly then flick left at turn number 2. Heisemans is pushing hard here to try and overhaul. It's just one extra championship point is all he would get. 40 points for the win, 35 for second, but then 34 for third, and it just diminishes by 1 point, reduces by 1 point for every position thereafter. So for Loris Heisemans, as the championship leader, is it worth it? That's what he's having to ask himself at the moment. That's what the team will be chatting to him about as well. Great onboard camera car here as we look at Luca Lasser, who is absolutely on the rear bumper of Giorgio Maggi. So this is 6th place, trying to hunt down the 5th place car in the hands of the Swiss driver that lies ahead. The hands in the inset that we have there of Luca Lasser working away at the wheel, trying to be as smooth as he can on the throttle on the way out of the corner. That's what they'll all be having to do as they tame these 400 brake horsepower, 5.7 litre V8 engines, pure racing in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Sebastian Bleekemolen still hanging on to 2nd place, but now he's dropping ever more away from Vittorio Garelli, who is looking ever more on course for potentially career win, #1 at the top flight of European NASCAR racing. Heisemans weaving around in the mirror of his teammate that lies ahead of him, which is Sebastian Bleekemolen. So it's a Team Bleekemolen car, but they do get technical support from Hendricks Motorsport. They do work out of the same area of the pit lane, and therefore you could argue it is a teammate. Bleekemolen wants his best result of the season. Heisemans will want to make sure that he scores solidly in this one. Be conscious that the cars are ahead of him. Oh, a slight mistake there, heading in towards turn 1 for Sebastian Bleekemolen. Now, will Heisemans try and cut back on the exit? Tries to, but can't get on the power in time. And all of this is just allowing Vittorio Garelli to disappear up the road a little bit more. Heisemans pushing hard here. So I think a yellow flag there in the corner of the screen, as though somebody's had an issue out on track. So that's just localised yellows, I think, at that point of the circuit currently. But for Sebastian Bleekemolen, he'll want his best result of the season. So Loris Heisemans will be conscious that the car that's ahead of him lies, or did at least lie, 5th in the championship standings coming into this weekend, and the car that leads lay 4th in the championship standings coming into this weekend. So it's still drivers that are arguably more than within touching distance of getting close to the championship. So any extra points he could get could be important come the end of the season. And this is the opportunity now for Loris Heisemans on the run up towards turn number 15. He's got the inside line, sneaks his way through and ahead of Sebastian Bleekemolen. It was a brave effort by Bleekemolen to try and hang on to it for lap after lap after lap, but eventually he is unpicked by the 2019 champion. Heisemans goes through ahead of his fellow countryman and is now up into 2nd and can now see what he can do to set about closing up what is almost a 1.9 second gap between himself and Vittorio Garelli. That is going to be a tough call really now for Heisemans to get up onto terms, let alone try and get past a race-leading car of Vittorio Garelli. So it's an Italian from a Dutchman, French-Canadian that's there in 4th place, a Swiss driver in 5th, a Frenchman in 6th and 7th, an Italian in 8th, another Frenchman in 9th and in 10th as well. First of the Scandinavians is Henry Tuomala, who still leads the Challenger Trophy in 12th place, and just to pick up on who leads the Junior Trophy still, for drivers aged under 25, that is the 5th place car, number 18, just coming into shot now, Giorgio Maggi, that still hangs on to that at the moment. He's in 5th place, the next of the junior drivers is in 10th place though. But for Maggi, he'll want another solid finish really. Finished 7th yesterday, it's on for 5th today for Giorgio Maggi. Well, that would still be even 5th place would be his 2nd best result of the season. He finished 4th at Brands, but Maggi in this re-liveried car weekend has not had a podium so far this season. You can see the Swiss flag proudly carried on the bonnet. It's almost been bump drafted by the double former champion Luca Lasser. As we ride on board with Luca Lasser, look at the work that's going in on the wheel, on the hands of the car. Luca Lasser, as we look across at the cockpit view of the driver. Working hard, Luca Lasser, almost into the tail end of Giorgio Maggi was there. That got very close indeed, under braking for what I think was sort of turn 8, turn 9 really, and as they went up towards the hairpin at turn number 10, there was a little bit of damage to the front of Luca Lasser's car, but that was there earlier on in the race. I don't think that was caused by what's happened over the course of this lap. Now, Jacques Villeneuve is now starting to catch Sebastian Bleekemolen. So remember the gap from 3rd, and it was Loris Heisemans in 3rd, down to 4th. Jacques Villeneuve was up to 4.9 seconds. Well, it's now down to 3.9. So Jacques Villeneuve is coming. 13 laps now completed. Only 4 laps to go. but that's an enormous amount to try and close up in cars that are, in reality, identical. Yes, you've got the Ford and you've got the Chevy body shapes, but it's all the same engine, it's all the same transmission system that they all run. And therefore, it's very much down to driver ability. There's no success ballast. As I say, it's pure racing. We don't add success ballast to these cars. There is a minimum weight we all have to achieve, so you have to ballast it subject to that. But if you win a race, you don't pick up extra weight. There's no electronic gizmos on these cars as well. And even in terms of the data that the mechanics can pull off the cars and the teams, there's not that many lines of data that they can inquire about. They'll get lap time, they'll get acceleration, which is GPS tracked, so they can look at front and rear brake pressures and throttle positions and wheel speeds and pressures and temperatures, and look at what the lambda sensor is doing, but they can't get thousands and thousands of lines of data off these cars. There's only about 13 channels of data that are output by the cars. Now, Giorgio Maggi still hanging on to 5th place. Luca Lasser in 6th position. Luca's had a 6th place so far this season. That was in the second of the 2 races at Valencia. So if Luca Lasser can sneak himself through and ahead of Giorgio Maggi, that would then put the number 64 Speedhouse car into its best position of the season so far. And the double former champion from 29 and 2010, the Frenchman, will be pushing hard. It's a quick replay. This is Mark Goossens coming under attack from the battered car of Gianmarco Ercoli. And you can see just the amount of damage that Ercoli has got to the front of his car. Where were they in the order? Well, Mark Goossens, Gianmarco Ercoli are fighting over 12th and 13th positions currently. Well, another lap is just about to be completed. Vittorio Girelli leading the way. Look at the gap though, Villeneuve is definitely closing. Look towards the left of your screen, the gap between Sebastian Bleekemolen and Jacques Villeneuve is coming down all of the time. It's now down to 2.9 seconds with 3 laps remaining. Villeneuve was about a second quicker on that lap, was he? Yes, he was. Yeah, it was a 1 minute 43.2 from Bleekemolen. It was a 1 minute 42.7 for Jacques Villeneuve. As we still follow this great fight for 5th and 6th position. Luca Lasser almost pushing the Ford of Giorgio Maggi around the track. So Giorgio Maggi working hard at the wheel of the number 18 Hendricks Ford, re-liveried for this weekend. There is the number 54 Chevrolet of Gianmarco Ercoli, the battered cowl car. But no matter what Luca Lasser does, for the moment, Giorgio Maggi has an answer to it. What is Luca Lasser going to do? He's got huge amounts of experience. Luca is, what, 42 years of age nowadays? Whereas with Giorgio Maggi, he's still in his early 20s. He's 23 as Giorgio Maggi, as we go back on board. Luca Lasser still trying to hunt down his best result of the season, but for the moment, he's there in 6th. Sister car with our onboard camera. Mark Goossens on the coattails of Nicola Rocca. Both of those cars being run by DF1 Racing, so those are teammates now fighting away for 11th and 12th places. Now Loris Hazemans heads out of the final corner, 3.3 seconds shy of Vittorio Girelli. There is the parked up and battered car of Andrea Norri, which is also involved in the skirmish at turns 1 and 2 on the first lap of the race. Our race leader is now on to his penultimate lap of the race, so he's on to lap number 16 now. Vittorio Girelli leading by 5.2 seconds and on course potentially for not just win number 7 of his NASCAR career, but more importantly his first career win in EuroNASCAR Pro, because the previous 6 have all been in EuroNASCAR 2, the second flight of European NASCAR racing. Now this time, Luca Lasser has finally got it done. He has finally managed to unpick 5th position, and that now potentially puts the Frenchman into a position that would be his best result of the season so far. Luca Lasser finished 6th in the second of the 2 races at Valencia, and he has worked tirelessly hard and not given up at all. That there might be just a small chink in the armour of Giorgio Maggi. Didn't quite see the start of it, so I don't know what caused the overtake to really start to happen, but Luca Lasser has just waited patiently for any sort of opportunity, and something came along and he seized that opportunity instantly. He now goes up into what will be 4th position, will it be? No, 5th place. And Giorgio Maggi drops down into 6th position, whilst Vittorio Girelli continues on his merry way on course for a win. It's been great to see the return of NASCAR to Autodrom Moss. There's Sebastian Bleekemolen with closing in all of the time. Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques Villeneuve was 2.3 seconds behind. Doesn't look anything like that now. So this is for the final podium spot. Villeneuve pushing as hard as ever at the wheel of the number 5 on his return to the championship. But with 1 lap to go, I'm not sure there's going to be sufficient time for him to catch, let alone then try and work out how he might get past Sebastian Bleekemolen, because remember, it took Loris Hazeman's several laps to do that. Onto the last lap of the race goes Vittorio Garelli. He's got the best lap of the race so far as well. 1 minute 41.609. That was set some laps ago now. There's no additional championship point for the fastest lap. It's just 40 points for the win, 35 for second, as I mentioned, and decreasing by 1 point thereafter. However, there are an extra 4 bonus points for the driver that gains the most places from their starting position to their finishing position. So it is on the issued grid, your starting position. But for Garelli, he started at the very front of the grid, and it looks like it's going to be a lights to flag victory for him here. Fairly untroubled race in what, for really the first time this weekend, have been consistent weather conditions all the way through it. All of the other races, we've either gone from dry conditions to damp, or dry to full wet, or in the case of some of them, wet to drying. This has been the most consistent race in terms of the weather conditions and the track conditions out there. Now for Loris Hazemans, he'll be disappointed it's not a win, but having spoken to him on the grid earlier on, he knew that he was going to have to do some work here. He'll be disappointed it's not a win, but how can he not be chuffed that his teammate is about to secure his first career win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, EuroNASCAR Pro Division. Many a driver have stepped up from EuroNASCAR 2 in the past to the top flight. Most have taken a year or so to win a race, but it looks as though just 6 races in, Vittorio Garelli is going to do that. He wins his first career win in the top flight of European NASCAR. It is second place to Loris Hazemans. Third place is just going to be Sebastian Bleekemolen, but Jacques Villeneuve was right on his tailpipes at the end of that lap. The gap between them must be less than a second, surely. Yes, it was half a second. Charging drive from Jacques Villeneuve, but does not net him a podium, unfortunately. He will finish in 4th place. Luca Lasser comes through in 5th place. Giorgio Maggi in 6th place. He will win the junior category by the look of that. Giorgio Maggi. Fred Gabillon in 7th, head of Ulysse Delceau in 8th place. He will be the second of the junior drivers home. Francesco Cini was 9th. And Henry Tuamala completes the top 10. So Henry Tuamala, I think, will win the Challenger Trophy with that one, as he finishes in 10th position. We'll run you fully down through the order in a short while once the cars head back in towards pit lane. But great to have these onboard shots for this weekend. Luca Lasser now just loosening off the belts a little bit, needs to keep them on until he gets to the pit lane, but just loosen them off very, very slightly now that you are at reduced speed. But for Garelli, he will be so pleased with that. He was lying 4th in the championship standings coming into this weekend. Let's have a quick look at the replay. Well, it all kicked off at turn number 1 with Romain Iniesta getting tagged in the rear by Francesco Cini, and Jacques Villeneuve getting caught up as well. Francisco Cini would rejoin the circuit, but it would bring out the full course caution as a result of Ian-Eric Varden's car getting tangled up and in the gravel trap. Also, Bernardo Manfredi was also caught out and in the gravel trap. So that brought about a full course caution. And when we got the race back underway, there were still bits of bodywork flying off the number 12 Solaris Motorsport car. Sebastian Bleekemolen was on for best result of the season in 2nd place, but after several laps of trying, eventually the door was open, and Loris Hazemans, the 2019 champion, seized the opportunity to squeeze his way through. Outside of the top 12, Mark Goostens and Gianmarco Ercoli were fighting for position, but it would be the man of Vittorio Garelli that would come through and claim the win, his first career win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, bringing about the final checkered flag this weekend for the NASCAR here on our return to Most after a year's hiatus last year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So wonderful to see the Marshals supporting. I think the Marshals have had a great weekend here with the European NASCAR returning, together with all of the other supporting races that they've had throughout the course of this weekend. We've certainly had plenty to talk about, not least of which, because I'm British, the weather, because we've had so much rain. And one thing we haven't really had is much sun, really, which is in stark contrast to when we were here in 2019, when it was blisteringly hot conditions. I think the hottest race that we had in 2019 was Most. And a changeable weekend, that has been the most consistent race, as I mentioned, weather-wise. So, for the first time in his EuroNASCAR Pro career, it is Vittorio Garelli that heads towards victory lane. He now joins other former EuroNASCAR 2 champions that have stepped up to the top flight and have claimed wins, the likes of Gianmarco Ercoli, the likes of Tomo Ferrando. who have also claimed wins at the top flight, and Vittorio Garelli can now, and Stinis Longines as well, I ought to say, and now Vittorio Garelli can join that list of former EuroNASCAR 2 champions that have now also gone to victory lane in EuroNASCAR Pro, the top flight. He'll be chuffed with that. Great to have those onboard pictures as well, the live onboards for this weekend, something new that we are trialling. Massive amount of thanks to Jerome Galpin and Gianluca Giulia for the agreeing that we can have those. I know we've been looking for them for a good period of time. It is still a trial still, but without the assistance of Sam Tahiri, it wouldn't have happened, and we do hope that we can see more of those throughout the course of this season, and of course improve them. We always look to try and move forward in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, and we'll look to do that. Big old handshake there. I think that was Roy Hendricks that was coming in to shake the hand of Vittorio Garelli, and he is just going to wait for the moment before he can, I think, extract himself out of his car and stand on the roof, I'm sure, of the number 50 Hendricks Ford. That was the car that brought Tobias Dauenhauer 2 wins over the course of this weekend in EuroNASCAR 2. So over the course of the 4 races that we've had, it's the number 50 Ford that's gone to victory lane on 3 of those 4 occasions. But this will be the sweetest one of the weekend, because you never forget your first win. And Vittorio Garelli, I think you can see the emotion in his eyes there. Those eyes, if you look deep into them, tell you all you need to know. Vittorio Garelli heads towards victory lane for the first time in his EuroNASCAR Pro career. He heads out of the number 50 car, closes the visor, I think, because he perhaps doesn't want people to see that there's a tear in his eye, but I have no problem with drivers showing emotion. They go through a lot of hard times for the good times, and yeah, you soak them up and you enjoy them. And he receives the congratulations of the team, and he's going to be a very, very happy chap in there. There's Tobias Dauenhauer. So there is the driver that brought that car to victory lane twice earlier on this season. And nice to see that he's receiving huge amounts of congratulations all around Vittorio Garelli, who's never short of a word, but he's also quite a quiet and a humble man at the same time. And it is richly deserved. There aren't many drivers, I don't think if any. I'll have to check with Gianluca, the PR man, but I think it's the first time we've had a reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion score his debut win in the debut season in the top flight. I don't think it's happened before. So out comes the earplugs, on will go the Hoosier hat, I'm sure. A quick wipe down, and we'll hand you down to victory lane. And Andre, who is going to chat to our race winner, Vittorio Garelli, a first-time winner in the top flight.
You're not only a EuroNASCAR 2 champion, you're now a EuroNASCAR Pro race winner. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's a fantastic win. I mean, I pushed every lap, tried to keep focused. At lap 2, actually, I had a bee in my helmet, so I locked up, and Blake and Whelen was fast, but then I got a good rhythm and took a good gap. In the end, I controlled, and what can I say? Good job, Team Hendricks. They gave me a very good car. The championship, the battle is still long, so we keep believing and keep pushing.
All right, thank you so much and congratulations.
Cheers, man.
So fantastic stuff from Vittorio Garelli, and he will be as pleased as punch as that. He's not the first driver, I've just heard the news, he's not the first driver to have won the EuroNASCAR 2 champion and then stepped up to EuroNASCAR Pro and won, because we did see Lasse Sorensen do it in the past. He was the 2019 EuroNASCAR 2 champion and did do it in his debut season in the top flight. So Vittorio Garelli and Tobias Dauenhauer, there'll be a few photographs taken there whilst those photos are taking place and whilst we await the podium. Let's just confirm the results for you. We should be able to bring the graphic back up to the left of the screen, which will show us the results for our final race of the weekend. Vittorio Garelli claims the win by just under 3 seconds from Loris Hazemans in second place and Sebastian Bleekemolen in third. Jacques Villeneuve was fourth, ahead of Luca Lasser in fifth place, and sixth was Giorgio Maggi, who claimed top honours in the junior category. At seventh was Fred Gabion. Ulysse Delceau was eighth. Henry Tuamala was the first of the Challenger drivers home in ninth place, and Nicola Rocca completed the top 10. Then it was Mark Goosens from Gianmarco Ercoli. Michaela Dortsikova ahead of Yevgen Sokolovsky were the last of the finishers. Problems for Romain Enietta, Dario Carzo, Alan Day, Davide Delara, Patrick Lamery and Ian-Eric Thorne. And let's head you back downstairs to victory lane.
We are here with Roy Hendricks, and I think you must be very happy after this weekend. Another time your car in the victory lane.
Yeah, this one did 3 out of 4 this weekend, so very happy for this team, of course. third place also for us, and a sixth place for Giorgio. So all in all, especially today, really good. Yesterday, unfortunately, we had a little bit of bad luck, but well, it happened. So no, all in all, the weekend's good. Considering the weather changes, it was really a challenge. Today it was really good weather, so happy about it.
A lot of drivers say that Autodrom Most and the Autodromo Grobnik are quite similar from the setup-wise. So you know that the car is going to be fast the next race weekend?
Yeah, normally if it is okay here, it is okay there. So we have good hopes for in a couple of weeks.
All right, thank you so much and congratulations.
Great to hear from Roy Hendricks there. You could see big smiles all round from the two drivers in the background, which was Loris Hazemans, who finished in second place, and Sebastian Bleekemolen, who finished there in third place. So Vittorio Garelli continuing his television interviews, and photographs still in the process of being taken. Once all of those have been done, they'll then be ushered towards the official podium celebrations, which we will still try and hang around for, ladies and gentlemen. So if you need to dash off, thank you for joining us, but do hang around. We will bring you the podium celebrations from round 6 of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, the EuroNASCAR Pro Division, coming up very shortly. And the official team photo that's going to find its way into the album is going to be there. Vittorio Garelli, only the second driver ever there towards victory lane in his debut season in EuroNASCAR Pro. I think Andre has got another driver to chat to down there in victory lane. So Andre, it's all yours.
I have another one.
Well, I think Andre was there. I think he's trying to scoop up a driver to chat to. I think he's trying to find his cameraman at the moment as well.
Switch back from the different camera, and then
I think we will hand you back downstairs. I think Andre's got another interview coming up, so we'll look at what's going on in the pit lane, and then Andre, as and when you've got the interview, it's all yours, mate. There we go. I can see Andre. He's with Sebastian Bleekemolen, who finished in third position. So I think the cameraman just busy filming other things at the moment. And then once we scoop him up, there we go. That's chat to the third place driver, Sebastian Bleekemolen, who is there ready with Andre.
We are here with Sebastian Bleekemolen. Man, this year works really well for your team. Podium again.
Yeah, podium again, and all weekend I was really fast, I think. P2 on this race, but also P3 in qualifying in the rain. We have a good setup and the team is working well. Really happy about this result, especially because I had a little problem halfway the race. The throttle pedal was a bit stuck, so I had to push through it, and I was lucky that it came back. And yeah, I was a bit out of concentration, but we had a big help to Jacques, so really happy.
Well, in the end, Jacques was getting bigger and bigger in your rear mirror. How was it to have the former Formula 1 champion coming closer and closer?
Yeah, it's strange if you think about it. Well, I didn't know that was Jacques in the beginning, but yeah, he's getting bigger. But I was asking his times, and I knew I had enough space to finish the race. But luckily, it was only 17 not 19 laps, because then we had a fight.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you well, and tot ziens.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to hear from Sebastian Bleekemolen, and as honest as ever. Yeah, he knew he might be in trouble if there was an extra couple of laps, but there wasn't. And interesting to hear from the drivers there. You know, Sebastian Bleekemolen sticking throttle pedal, that was why he was losing pace, and Vittorio Garelli being his crash helmet in the first race. You weren't the first lap, you wouldn't have thought of that. But thankfully, no harm done, and the number 50 goes to victory lane. So I think that's probably all the interviews we're going to get for the moment. All of the drivers I can see are now making their way towards the podium, ready for the podium celebrations. Whilst that is the end of our racing here at Most for this weekend, don't forget we've still got further rounds to come, with the regular season continuing at Autodrom Grobnik in Croatia on the 18th and 19th of September, and also at Circuit Soldier in Belgium. I'm going to hand you back downstairs to Andre, who this time I think has managed to scoop up another interview. He is going to be chatting to the winner. Sorry, to who's that? It's Michaela Dorskova.
Your NASCAR come back. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels amazing. It was definitely not an easy race, and you've seen the start. I was trying to be focused and just literally survive, go around the cars, and yeah, I remember it from 2019 that it's not easy racing, but it's pure racing, as we say, and I'm so glad I finished. They told me I finished on the podium, so I'm even happier than I was yesterday because this one was tougher. I have not raced on slicks here yet. We had rain all the time, and now suddenly without practice go on slicks, try to push. So yeah, it feels amazing.
What do you like about those cars without the electronic driving aids and stuff?
You just said it. Without the electronic driving aids, any modern, whatever you can come up with, no ABS, no power steering. It's simply amazing. It's pure, and it's how a car should be.
All right, thank you so much, and we hope to have you back really soon.
I really hope so.
We hope so too. She's always smiling, Michaela Dorsikova. Saw her and chatted to her at Hockenheim in 2019. It's wonderful to see her back in the championship. Get yourself off towards the podium, Michaela. There we go, because we are about ready to go. Yeah, I mentioned that we've got Croatia and Circuit Zolder coming up. Our finals, don't forget, will take place at Autodrom of Lunga. Double points finals. Last few days of October, the 30th and 31st of October. But Victory Lane is being cleared. We await the arrival of the drivers onto the podium, and then we will have our top 3 overall in the race. We will have a top 3 for the junior category and a top 3 for the challenger category. And the junior category is for those 8 under 25. It's a subcategory of the race overall. And the challenger category is for the top 3 drivers no more, who are amateur in reality. In other words, they are silver or bronze graded drivers. They are not professional racing drivers, or deemed as being so by Team FJ and the organisers of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. So for the final OMV Max Motion NASCAR show, Podium is about ready to go. We will also have a representative of the team member up onto the podium as well. Fine-looking champagne and trophies and national anthems all to go. So for the final time today, we will have our top 3 overall heading onto the podium. So finishing in 3rd position, Sebastian Whelen makes his way onto the podium. Steps around the back, Sebastian, but he's going. There we go. He's not familiar with the podium. Go round that way. That's it. Look at the steps, up the steps, and then he'll get there. He's not the only driver to have done that this weekend. 2nd place and maintaining the lead in the championship is the 2019 champion, Loris Hazemans, finishes in 2nd position. And the top step of the podium, making it a clean sweep in reality for Hendricks Motorsport, is Vittorio Garelli with his first career win in the top flight of EuroNASCAR, his first career win in the EuroNASCAR Pro Division. He heads up onto the top step of the podium, and then we will have the team representative heading up onto the podium, representing Hendricks Motorsport. They will certainly party tonight, I'm sure, given the opportunity. And then, now that we've got our top 3 drivers and the team representative on the podium, it is now time for the national anthem of the winning driver. Oh no, trophies first. So trophies being given first. So that is Sebastian Whelen, who receives the 3rd place trophy.
Trophy for the 2nd place, presented by
2nd place goes the way of Loris Hazemans, making up for that issue that he had yesterday when he finished in 8th and was off the podium for the first time this season. And then the top step of the podium goes the way of Vittorio Garelli onto the top step of the podium.
Na počest vítěze zazní italská státní hymna.
And now it's time for the national anthem of the winning driver. Congratulations to Vittorio Garelli. Final few photographs will be taken on the podium, so the drivers will hold their trophies aloft. They should, that's it. Trophies first, Vittorio. He's keen to celebrate, and rightly so as well. So, top step of the podium, look forward, big smiles all round for the photographs to be taken, and then before it gets too wet on the podium, just to give everybody the opportunity to escape as the celebrations take place. Everybody, whether it be the VIPs or the representatives up there, all looking to try and escape quickly. Champagne flies on the podium, round 6 of the 2021 championship season. What a result for Hendricks Motorsport, who in reality, with Team Bleekie-Molen, Sebastian Bleekie-Molen on there, clean sweep the podium. So we will also have, now that we've got the top 3 done, we will have the presentation of the windscreen banner as well for the championship leader in the EuroNASCAR Pro, and the titanium ring as well, the TJ titanium ring, ready to be presented shortly as well to our fastest driver of the weekend. It should be the next of the podium presentations before we then move on to the junior category and the challenger category. So a little bit of redressing of the podium to be done. Loris Hazeman's handing over the winner's trophy, popping it down on step number 1. He's going to sit down for this one, looking very cool, calm and collected as Loris Hazeman's. So the leader of the championship, Loris Hazeman's, is the leader of the championship as we leave Most and head towards Autodrom Grobnik in Croatia. So he receives the Whelen windscreen header. All the rest of the cars run the Whelen windscreen header, but there's our white with red writing. It's red with white writing for the championship leader. So that will be proudly affixed to the number 7 Hendricks Ford. And it will be the number 50 Hendricks Ford that has that windscreen header in the EuroNASCAR 2 races. So there is Loris Hazeman's now vacating the podium. Very much from a racing family is Loris Hazeman's. Brother Mike having done great things as well in sports cars over the years. Loris, who's been racing out in America this year as well, and is scheduled, I think, to take it to more racing throughout the course of the remainder of the season. And then our fastest driver award, the fantastic titanium TJ ring, which now, for the 5th time, is going to go the way of Loris Hazeman's.
Fastest driver award.
I think it's going in his direction.
Don't make him false hopes.
Sorry, I called him back.
Vittorio Garelli was the fastest driver yesterday, but I would have thought the lap was beaten today. And Loris Hazeman's gets the fastest driver award as well. Does he not know he's snuck up to They're discussing who it is. I think it's Loris Hazeman's that won't regret. I think it's Vittorio Garelli. Loris Hazeman snuck in, but I think it's Vittorio Garelli who set the fastest lap in yesterday's race and set the fastest lap in that race as well. So it is, yeah. There we go. Loris Hazeman sneaking in, but there is the fantastic TJ titanium ring. The first time that we've had that awarded to Vittorio Garelli. So he's got 1 TJ titanium ring. Alan Day has 5 of those now in his collection. Loris Hazeman's already got 4. He doesn't need another one. We'll get him off the podium. So that is our first batch of podium presentations done. We will then move on with the next categorisation, which I think will be for the junior category. And then once we have got our drivers ready at the back of the podium, we will present them once more in reverse order.
Best team of this race is Team Hendricks Motorsport.
So it's the team of the weekend that's coming up next then, and that is going the way of Hendricks Motorsport that secure the Team of the Weekend award. And wait for the team representatives to head onto the podium. Mikael Janda will be presenting them with the award, the Hendricks crew, all heading up onto the top step of the podium for what has been a solid weekend really for Hendricks Motorsport. They couldn't have really asked for a better weekend. So the team award goes the way of Hendricks Motorsport, and that has been richly deserved really, with their cars having gone to victory lane in 3 of the 4 races, and in that last race their cars were 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 6th in that race. So a solid haul of points for all of the Hendricks drivers over the course of this weekend. We're going to spray the champagne. I don't think the girls on the podium are quite ready for that one. So Roy Hendricks will not be popular with that one, I don't think, for the girls who were looking to stay dry. Sadly didn't, so I think apologies going on. But still smiles all around, which is good. And then I think now we've got the team award done. Now we should be on to the junior and the challenger categories. I need to rattle through these reasonably quickly because I can hear in the background that the competitors for the European Truck Racing Association, European Truck Racing Championship, are heading out onto the circuit. So, drowned out very shortly by the noise of 12-litre engines on board most of these European trucks. There's the fine trophies ready to be presented. Once we get the last 6 trophies out of the way, we will bid you farewell and look towards the next round that will be taking place in 3 weeks' time, where we head to Autodrom Grobnik for our 2nd ever NASCAR Grand Prix of Croatia. So the junior trophy should be Gianmarco Ercoli, Ulysse Delso and Giorgio Maggi, if I've got the maths right. So onto the podium comes Gianmarco Ercoli. Good weekend for him. He finished 2nd overall yesterday. He finished 12th in that race, but should still hang on to position in the top 3 of the championship overall. Ulysse Delso heads up onto the podium. So that is 2 former champions in the EuroNASCAR 2 division. And top step of the podium for the junior category is Giorgio Maggi, who didn't ever win the EuroNASCAR 2 championship. He finished runner-up to Lasse Sorensen in his championship year before stepping up to the top flight. But big smile for Giorgio on what has been a good old weekend for him, really. Finished 7th yesterday, finished 6th today. One better today did Giorgio Maggi. So he is, over the course of this season, only once finished outside of the top 10. So solid point for Giorgio. Ercoli receives his trophy. Then Ulysse Delso is about to receive his trophy. 23-year-old Frenchman. And again, just proving the point about a mix of nationalities, an Italian, a Frenchman and a Swiss driver on our podium here. So many nationalities represented amongst the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. So that's our junior categorisation done. Congratulations to Gianmarco Ercoli, to Ulysse Delso and to the winner, Giorgio Maggi. They'll have their photographs taken. Then our final podium of the weekend will be coming up very shortly, which will be for the Challenger Trophy. And that should see Yevgen Sokolovsky, Michaela Dorsikova and Henry Tuomala head to the podium, if information I'm looking at in front of me is correct. And that will be our final podium of what has been a great weekend on our return to Autodrom Most for the OMV Max Motion NASCAR show, as it's badged. So the Challenger Trophy is amateurs race in the top flight of European NASCAR, so i.e. those that are silver or bronze graded.
Challenger Trophy, amateur drivers in the professional division. On the 3rd place,
finishing in 3rd position. Yevgen Sokolovsky heads up onto the podium. Second place will be Michaela Dorsikova on her return to the championship. We spoke to her in the pit lane. Huge cheer goes up for Michaela. She is hugely liked, Michaela. And the top step of the podium, it is Henry Tuomala that heads onto the top step of the podium. So it's a Ukrainian, a Slovakian and a Finnish driver that complete our podiums for the Challenger Trophy for those amateurs race in EuroNASCAR. So Yevgen Sokolovsky, busy weekend for him. He's raced in all 4 races, does both divisions of EuroNASCAR, EuroNASCAR 2 and EuroNASCAR Pro. Big smile from the hugely likeable Ukrainian. Michaela Dorsikova leaping up and down with delight, finishing 2nd in the Challenger Trophy. And Henry Tuomala wins the Challenger Trophy here. for our final podium presentations that we're going to have this weekend in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. The final photographs being taken, and the drivers will head back to their respective teams. They will pack the cars away, and in a few weekends' time we will do it all again. So that is it for our podium presentations now for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. It's been a great weekend of racing. It's been a fantastic return to the Czech Republic, and we look forward to doing it all again, as we say, in a few weeks' time. As for the remainder of the calendar, if you want to join us for any further rounds over the course of the 2021 championship season, then remember we are out next at Autodrom Drobnik on the 18th and 19th of September for the NASCAR Grand Prix of Croatia. On the 9th and 10th of October, we head towards Circuit Solder in Belgium. And then our final rounds, which is the double points paying rounds, are down there, rounds 11 and 12 of the championship. Double points as we head to Autodrom de Vallelunga for the NASCAR Festival of Rome on the 30th and 31st of September. Keep your eye towards all of our social medias as well, whether it be Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. EuroNASCAR is the place to go. But from everybody here, from the whole of the team, from Creator TV, myself, Mark Werrell, and the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, and of course all of our help from our friends at Autodrom Drobnik. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at Croatia, Autodrom Drobnik, in a few weeks' time. Until then, it's goodbye.